Satyamayi Parame Satyamayi Parame Satyamayi Parame Satyam Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyotir Aravinda Jyotir Aravinda Jyotir Aravinda. So years ago, when I had started my spiritual journey, I had a meditation teacher who used to tell me that the restlessness you feel is your Buddha nature calling you home. He was a Buddhist, but Buddha nature is as good as the mother, the guru, the divine nature calling you home. So all of us sometimes feel dissatisfied even with the best that the world has to give, and that gives rise to that cliche, sometimes the world is just not enough, because we want something more, but we don't know what it is that we want. So Tagore puts it beautifully. He says, a child crying in the night, a child crying for the light, with no language but a cry. So each of us is like that child soul who's crying in the night of ignorance, crying in the night, crying for the light, with no language but a cry. You don't know sometimes what you even are calling out to, but something within keeps calling. And that is what the Mother and Sri Aurobindo call aspiration, or the deep spiritual cry in all that is. So that is, we keep coming back to Sri Aurobindo's symbol, the descending triangle, the descent of a very special force into matter, the supramental force, which Mother and Sri Aurobindo brought down. The rising triangle is the response of matter. Matter responds to the descent of the supramental force with an aspiration. It wants to be lifted out of ignorance. It wants to reach out to its source, and that is aspiration. So once when Mother was asked, but what is it in us that aspires? So she says it's the divine in you which aspires to break out of the prison of matter and be reinstated into its divine status. So aspiration is one of the key factors in Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga. In fact, his yoga doesn't really begin till the awakening of this aspiration in us. And aspiration is not how to say a prayer that fulfill this desire, fulfill that desire. Those are prayers, those are desires, those are not aspirations. Aspiration is the deepest need of the soul to go home, very simply put, to go back to its home, to go back to its divine source, to be reunited with that. That is aspiration. Okay? So now Sri Aurobindo's words from Savitri. A mighty one, this is page 90 of Savitri. A mighty oneness, its perpetual theme. Its is a reconciling wisdom. A wisdom which is working in nature A mighty oneness is its perpetual theme. This wisdom is working all the time to take us back to the oneness from which we've been separated. So a mighty oneness, its perpetual theme, it caught the soul's faint, scattered utterances, read hardly twixt our lines of rigid thought. So the soul within us is constantly aspiring. The mother says that the soul inside us is like a sunflower, constantly turned to the sun. Even if in our outer being we are given to despair, darkness, whatever, the soul in us is always turned towards light, like a sunflower towards the sun. So the soul is constantly whispering, but we don't hear it because it's, you want to ask something? You want to say something? Because it constantly is covered up by the noise and chaos of our thoughts. So it caught the soul's faint, scattered utterances, read hardly twixt our lines of rigid thought. We can't read the utterances of the soul because our thought is so rigid. So this wisdom which is working in nature, that catches the soul's faint, scattered utterances, read hardly twixt our lines of rigid thought, amid this drowse and coma on matter's breast. In the prison of matter, we are like somnambulists. We are sleeping, we are in coma, heard like disjointed mutterings in sleep. So whatever the soul whispers to us, we hear like disjointed mutterings in sleep. In sleep, we remember faint things here, this dream, that. We don't remember the whole thing. So the soul in our ignorant state is like that dream. We just catch its disjointed mutterings in sleep. It grouped the golden links that they had lost. What had lost? The disjointed mutterings of the soul. So this wisdom grouped the golden links that they had lost. So golden links which join these mutterings into an intelligible message to us, into something we can understand. Heard like disjointed mutterings in sleep, it grouped the golden links that they had lost and showed to them their divine unity, saving from the error of divided self the deep spiritual cry in all that is. So all of us are under the error of the divided self. We feel separate from one another. So this reconciling wisdom is joining the mutterings of the soul with golden links, creating a message we can hear, and that message shows to us our divine unity, saving from the error of divided self, the deep spiritual cry in all that is. All the great words that toil to express the one were lifted to an absoluteness of light, an ever-burning revelation's fire, and the immortality of the eternal voice. So this passage is a very beautiful passage which describes how there is a wisdom which is working to bring the aspiration of the soul forward, working to make us aware of this aspiration and taking this aspiration home. So I'll just read the whole passage. A mighty oneness, its perpetual theme, it caught the soul's faint, scattered utterances, read hardly twixt our lines of rigid thought, amid this drowse and coma on matter's breast, heard like disjointed mutterings in sleep. It grouped the golden links that they had lost and showed to them their divine unity, saving from the error of divided self, the deep spiritual cry in all that is. All the great words that toil to express the One were lifted to an absoluteness of light, an ever-burning revelation's fire, and the immortality of the eternal voice. So, actually, a poet very beautifully wrote that every desire you have is really an excuse for God. You are actually desiring going home, you're actually desiring coming back to yourself. But because that goal is not visible to you, this yearning in you translates into desire for this, desire for that. But that's where Yajnavalkya says his famous words in Taittiriya Upanishad. He tells his wife Maitri, know this, that you desire the husband not for the sake of the husband, but for the sake of the self. And the husband desires the wife not for the wife, but for the sake of the self. So Sri Aurobindo writes a beautiful line in Savitri, all love is a yearning of the one for the one. Such a beautiful definition of love. All love is a yearning of the one for the one. I think I'm desiring that person. And just today I was reading this fabulous passage in Savitri. It's not there in the PDF, but it talks about a time when all of us have this aspiration, this love inside us. And then when we meet a significant other, we recognize, he says, familiar splendors in an unknown face. And then actually we love that one essence in that person, which is very alive and resonant with the essence in me. But this love gets distorted into thinking this is the one, this person is the one for whom my life is made. And he writes that we mistake the image for the soul. Actually, we are loving, all love is a yearning of the one for the one. And that aspiration or that love, because it's a little blind as yet, because we are blind, we think that, wow, this person is the be-all and end-all of my life. This is the goal of my existence. But Sri Aurobindo says that's because that divine desire urge gets distorted and it mistakes the image for the soul. It's a very beautiful passage. Maybe we'll take it up next week. I don't have it here. So, yeah, Shailaja, you were saying something.
I've never been very clear as to what exactly is aspiration, and it's something unworded.
Yeah, it is. It is unworded. So the question was, what is aspiration and is it something unworded? The real aspiration is actually this beautiful line in this passage from Savitri, the deep spiritual cry in all that is. That is aspiration, the deep spiritual cry in all that is. Now these are words from Adventure of Consciousness by Satprem, page 289. Varana, you can share with Payal. If we have the year of the year, the Veda speaks of. So in the Vedas, there's Shrotrasya Shrotram, the year within the year. Chakshushcha Chakshu, the eye within the eye. So if we have the year of the year, the Veda speaks of, perhaps we will hear the night crying out everywhere to the light, the walden consciousness crying out to joy, the deep spiritual cry in all that is. So Satprem has borrowed this from the passage we just read. That is what pushes deep within. It is the fire within a flame in matter, the flame of life, the flame in our mind, the flame in our soul. It is this fire we must seize. It is the thread, the lever, the secret evolutionary urge, the soul, the flame of the word. So he's saying if we have an inner listening, if we are not just listening to our thoughts, but we have a listening of the year, We will hear the night. Night is ignorance. In the Vedas, we discussed this last time also, night represents ignorance and day the truth. We will hear the night crying out everywhere to the light. The walled-in consciousness, each of us has a walled-in consciousness crying out to joy, the deep spiritual cry in all that is. That is what pushes deep within. It is the fire within a flame of matter. So, the element that best represents aspiration is Agni. We did this last time also. The flame of life, the flame in our mind, the flame in our soul. It is this fire we must seize. It is the thread, the lever, the secret evolutionary urge, the soul, the flame of the world. Again, Adventure of Consciousness, page 262. There is a turmoil outside and suffering and problems. Then we make a slight movement inward like crossing a threshold, and suddenly we are outside or inside, 1,000 miles away, and nothing exists anymore except a smile. It takes a split second. So he's saying that sometimes there is so much turmoil in our mind, in our sensations, in circumstances, and what's happening and what's not happening. But if we go within, all the turmoil ceases. All that's left is a smile. The psychic being, the God presence, the sun inside us, it's just like a smile. So Rumi writes it so beautifully. Outside, the news is full of thunder, bad news, storm. But the news inside is that there's no news at all. Because inside it's still, inside there's a smile. So that's why Mother says, whenever things are difficult, the best aid you can give the difficulty is to become quiet. Because the moment you become quiet inside and you fall into place inside, the universe outside corrects itself, because it's always going to mirror your inner state. So it's so beautiful. He's saying, and nothing exists anymore except a smile. It takes a split second. Then Sri Aurobindo's words, the divine grace is there, ready to act at every moment, but manifests as one grows out of the law of ignorance into the law of light. So when we are living bound by the law of ignorance, it's the night of the soul. The law of light is the law of truth consciousness. So when we are living in the law of ignorance, we can't see the action of grace. And we say all kinds of stupid things. Yesterday I met a lady who told me with great conviction that the world is going to dogs. There'll be a time when humans will eat humans for food, and with great conviction and belief. But that's because we are only looking at the outside. We are not really seeing how much grace is still there in all the darkness that we are perceiving. So, because we are living in the law of ignorance. But once we open, once the eye within the eye opens, or the ear inside the ear opens, and we can see the action of grace everywhere, then we step into life with a different footing. So, but manifests as, so this divine grace manifests more and more as we grow out of the law of ignorance into the law of light. Then everywhere there's grace and light and joy and abundance. See, divine grace wants to act, it's waiting to act. But it can act maximally when an instrument is functioning governed by the laws of light. If we are clinging to the laws of darkness and ignorance, then even if grace wants to act, our doors are closed to it. So there was a famous astronaut, Werner von Braun, who said that there are laws of existence as sure as there are laws of science. Okay? Law of gravity will tell you if an apple releases from the tree, gravity will pull it down. Now, Werner von Braun is saying there are laws of existence as real as laws of science. Those who know about these laws and abide by them, in a way he's talking about laws of light. They live a happy, fulfilled life. But those who don't know about those laws of existence, they live in darkness. Because when you know the laws of existence and you abide by them, you concretely open your doors for grace to manifest. But if you fall back into the old pessimistic way of thinking, then grace doesn't work. Sri Aurobindo said a very beautiful thing. I'm reading this sentence again. The divine grace is there ready to act at every moment, he says. But manifests, it can't manifest till we grow out of the law of ignorance into the law of light. And it is meant not as arbitrary caprice, however miraculous, often its interventions, but as a help in that growth. So grace is, he's not saying that grace will act only under conditions of laws of light, but he's saying that grace helps you to move out of the law of darkness and into the law of light. That was our last time Surya Mantra Marichaye Nama. Remember the first ray of light which brings dawn, which changes everything. So the Marich inside us is working tirelessly to change our existence from one governed by laws of darkness to one governed by laws of light. What would be laws of darkness? When am I falling prey to a law of darkness?
When I do things for my ego only, for selfish reasons.
When you're selfish, yes.
When you see the other person as an other.
When you see division and live with division, and that leads to fear, because division is the seed of fear, right? If I'm one with everything, I can't be afraid of it. So Sanskrit is such a remarkable language. In English, we'll say I am afraid of the tiger. But in Sanskrit, we'll say Vyagrat Bibhaite. I am afraid from the tiger. I have to be separate from the tiger. From means separation. I can't be afraid of something unless I feel separate from it. So living with division, living with fear. Today somebody told me a term I'd never thought of. She told me I live with a catastrophic mind. That means a mind which from a very young age believes in doom, is always thinking this will go wrong, that will go wrong, I'll fall sick, that will happen to my loved one, this will go wrong. That I thought, yeah, that's a catastrophic mind. That's living in the law of darkness. Because mother says fear is hidden consent. If you fear something, you're saying yes to its possibility. And if you say yes to its possibility, you're inviting it into existence. So to live in the law of life, in the law of light, is to live with a constant recollection of the magic of grace which is in our midst. A constant faith in it. They say no, fear is faith in evil. Every time I'm fearing, I'm having faith in something that's opposite to mother. So where there is faith, there can't be fear. So living with fear is living in the law of darkness. That's one example. There are many. So Sri Aurobindo further says, the soul within has always the inherent ahetuk. Hetu is an aim. Ahetuk is aimless yearning for the divine. So it doesn't want the divine for this boon, that thing. It wants the divine for the sake of the divine. The hetu or special motive is simply an impulsion used by it to get the mind and vital to follow the inner urge. So now it's very difficult for us to yearn for a faceless face. Aspiration is the deep spiritual cry and all that is. It's actually a yearning for a faceless face. We don't know what we are yearning for. That's why it gets diverted into all its distortions, because we like something concrete, as we discussed earlier. But therefore, the divine provides a form and an image as an hetu. Like I keep saying this in one of Meera bhajans, Meera's telling Krishna that I know and you know that you're the infinite blue of the sky, finally. But you know in your compassion that I can't relate to you as the infinite blue of the sky. So the infinite blue of the sky became this blue form so that I may relate to it. So that's what Sri Aurobindo is saying, the hetu or special motive, whatever, the guru, the image, whatever, is simply an impulsion used by it to get the mind and vital to follow the inner urge. That's why our gurus, Mother and Sri Aurobindo, came down in a body. So Mother often used to tell people that if I tell you to think of the divine all the time, maybe some of you feel lost. That's why I've come to you in a body, so that you can see me, so that you can think of me, so that you can relate to me. But at the same time, she says, if you limit me to my body, you're limiting my force to a very small percentage of what it actually could be. In Savitri, he writes, 1,000 icons they make of her and find her in the idols that they adore, but she remains herself an infinite. So she is that infinity, but so that we can relate to her, the divine comes down in a body to give us a hetu, an aim to reach out for. Then Sri Aurobindo says, faith is a spiritual certitude of the spiritual, the divine, the soul's idea, something that clings to that even when it is not fulfilled in life. So, Sri Aurobindo writes beautifully explaining faith. He says we call it faith when it's refracted through our mind. But if we are with the seeing of the soul, the eye within the eye, the chakshushcha chakshu, then faith is a knowing, it's a gyan, it's a knowledge. It knows that the divine exists. It knows that at every moment, every seeming bad is good in the making. It knows the spiritual good intention behind every seeming evil. So, right now we have to take this on faith because our inner doors, heart doors are not fully open. But when they open, this becomes a knowing. So Sri Aurobindo says faith is a knowing of the soul. Faith is something the seer within knows to be true, even in the absence of any external evidence. So he says faith is a spiritual certitude of the spiritual, the divine, the soul's idea, something that clings to that even when it is not fulfilled in life, even when the immediate facts or the persistent circumstances seem to deny it. Faith is a thing that precedes knowledge, not comes after knowledge. For us, faith comes after knowledge. Take an example. I'm going for a medical test. I've prayed very hard. My medical tests are cleared. I get faith. God listened to me. But that's not faith. He's saying faith is a thing that comes before knowledge, not after knowledge, not after the results are given. Even before I go in, I have this faith that whatever the results are, it will be for my best, because everything that's happening is happening for my best. At every moment I'm being looked after, at every moment I'm only being taken to a good place. So if this precedes knowledge, then that's faith. It is a glimpse of the truth which the mind has not yet seized as knowledge. So beautiful if you can get it. Faith is a glimpse of the truth which the mind has not yet seized as knowledge. Agni is the first living form of the divine within us. Sri Aurobindo's words. Agni is the first and the supreme living form of the divine within us. Let us kindle him on the altar of the heart. Kindling the Agni is stoking the fire of aspiration. Welcome him as the priest of the sacrifice, and in his burning flame of power and knowledge, in his golden and revealing blaze of knowledge, into his all-consuming and purifying blaze of power, offer all our trivial pleasure and pain, all our limited and petty effort and failure, all falsehood and death. Let the old and the untrue be reduced to ashes. Then from the heaven-kissing force of Agni, we've discussed that fire element is the element of aspiration and will, because whichever way the wind blows the flames of fire, it'll find a way to go up and reach its sky. So heaven-kissing force of Agni, it will always reach out for the sky, will rise as living Savitri, the new and the true. So Savitri means it means many things, but the root Savitra means self-generated, created out of the tapas of the divine. It could mean the new creation. So when this aspiration rises from the heart, it births the new creation. It births a different mind, a different consciousness, and it all starts with aspiration. See, in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, the mother says, I never interfere, I intervene. So she will step in largely if you invite her. She also there is a veiled intervention. She does what she can, even when we don't call. But if we call to her, her action is very swift. That call to her is aspiration. That's why aspiration is absolutely pivotal in Sri Aurobindo's yoga. The constant call to the light to deliver us from our darkness. So Mother says that in order to raise creation to the next evolutionary rung, if you compare creation to dough which has to be baked into bread, the divine added love and aspiration into the dough as yeast, baking soda, which will make creation rise. And that addition is the divine in the dough, divine in matter. It's the divine in matter which is aspiring. So last class we did the first 9 Surya mantras, right? So we have to do the last 3. So we come to Om Savitri Nama. Now Sri Aurobindo's words. Savitri by the truth is the creator. Savitri simply means the creator, but not in the sense of a fabrication or mechanical forming of things. So it's the truth of the creator with extreme God intelligence, not in the sense of a fabrication or a mechanical forming of things. Is there something burning? It's outside perhaps? Okay. The root of the word means an impulsion, a losing forth or sending out. The sense also of the ordinary word for creation, srishti, and so a production. The action of the causal idea does not fabricate but tries to bring out by tapas, by the pressure of consciousness on its own being, and that which is concealed in it, latent in potentiality and in truth, already existent in the beyond. So Savitri basically means creation which is self-generated, creation which exists as a seed in its divine potential state, and then under the pressure of the divine tapas, it blooms into the new creation, the new tree. So The sun is also called the Savitra because the sun is self-generated. If you look at any other light, it's not self-generated. There's electricity and whatever. But can we fathom the mystery of the sun, that it's this ball of light, but a ball of light which is constantly creating its own light? If you go into science, there are hydrogen-helium interactions which are constantly happening to create light. So just the way the sun is self-generated, what we did in our morning yoga classes, the 12 Surya mantras with the namaskars, the sun within us makes us also self-generated, generated out of our own divine seed, what the Vedas call Swayam Bhu, Swayam self, Bhu coming into existence through my own light, self-generated light. So everything that I am is self-generated light. It's made up of light. So let's do this mantra. Shut your eyes. Put your hands on the heart. For those of you who the morning class is fresh in, bring back the time we did Savitri Nama with the Surya Namaskar and see the sun shining brightly in your heart. The Savitri, the self-generated one, this one who generates everything I call me, my thoughts, my emotions, my body. So in that sense, everything in me is woven out of light. If nothing else, my self-worth and self-esteem can come from recognizing that I'm made out of light. Savitri, the tapas of the divine inside me, generating me into becoming who I am. So just a japa, articulate Om Savitri Nama. A japa is without sound. And then let's chant it aloud. Savitri Namah. Savitri Namah. Savitri Namah. And then let's continue. Mother's words. The essential difference between love and aspiration and love and desire. So aspiration is also a form of love and desire is also a distorted form of love. But there's a difference, is that love and aspiration gives itself entirely and asks nothing in return. It does not claim anything, whereas love and desire gives itself as little as possible, asks as much as possible. It pulls things to itself and always makes demands. So when you desire, it's a neediness, it's a attachment. I want you to make me happy. I want you to do things for me. But love and aspiration is a self-giving. You want to give yourself to the object that you love. You don't want the one you love to keep doing things for you, but your joy is in doing things for the one you love. So that is the main difference. And of course, for the divine, for the divine also you can have love and desire. I love the divine so long as my desires are fulfilled, my prayers are granted. Or there's love and aspiration, where I don't care what you give me or take from me. I'm eternally grateful that you have given me your breath. Savitri Nama reminds me that God has given me His very breath. He has become me. And I can spend my whole life in gratitude for that gift. He has forgotten Himself and He has become me. So I just want to give back. But even in relationships, whether it's with my partner, whether it's with friends, so long as the base is neediness, I need you to fulfill this desire in me, this need in me. I need you to be there when I'm unhappy. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. Somewhere or the other, I'm spelling doom in the relationship. But the more my love is from a space of self-giving, I want to give you. So that's why I say, if you want to have good marriages, good partnerships, you have to be both of you have to be very evolved, because if you're incomplete, you'll keep wanting completion from your partner, and that will spell the doom of the relationship. In order to enjoy a relationship with anyone, forget a husband, wife, even a friend, you have to be a very full, rich human being in yourself, where you are self-generated, you are the Savitra. You are not waiting for somebody else to complete you. You are complete in yourself, and then you're enjoying the other person. So do remember that to love out of self-giving creates beautiful, harmonious relationships. But to love out of neediness and desire, sooner or later it's going to create cracks in the relationship. Aspiration always gives joy, doesn't it? Somebody asked Mother. Rather a feeling of plenitude. Joy is a misleading word. A feeling of plenitude, of force, of an inner flame which fills you. Aspiration can give you joy, but a very special joy which has no excitement in it. Yeah, normally we feel joy has to be exciting, but aspiration for the divine gives you a joy which has no excitement in it. It's a joy that's deeply, deeply peaceful. Mother again, escaping catastrophes. Strange feeling, Mother says. Since last night, a strange impression that the divine has become, how to formulate it? Like a golden force pressing down like this, pressure, gesture of pressure on earth. They alone who by their aspiration are able to pass through to the divine origin will escape catastrophes. What a beautiful assurance. They alone who by their aspiration are able to pass through to the divine origin will escape catastrophes. She says, only were they safe who had God in their heart. In Savitri there's a line, no? Only were they safe who had God in their heart. So yeah, it's a time of great upheaval. But she gives us this assurance, they alone who by their aspiration are able to pass through to the divine origin will escape catastrophe. It's survival of the fittest, right? Right now, it's not going to be fittest in terms of the physical. It's the elite in terms of spiritual consciousness who will survive. The spiritual elite will survive and grow into the next species. They alone who by their aspiration are able to pass through to the divine origin will escape catastrophes. There was a catastrophe in Madras. One of our best cars was in a very serious accident. Mother says, Pondicherry used to send cars to whatever. So she says one of her best cars was in a serious accident. Only those who have an aspiration, a sincere and unconditioned aspiration towards the divine, only they will escape. They will stand in a golden glory, extremely interesting. So, I keep coming back to this story of Udar Pinto. Many of you will remember it, but Udar Pinto was somebody very close to the mother when she was in her body, and he was once traveling by train, and the train got derailed and it lifted off the tracks and it was going to go off track and everyone would have died. But somehow it was like a hand of light lifted it and put it back. And when mother was told about this, she said, my child was in the train and to save him I had to save the whole train. So one person like that who has that aspiration, the divine literally moves heaven and earth to keep that and I mean, this is not a new age thing, this is eternal. Even in the Kurukshetra, Arjun chose Krishna over the Yadav army. We know that story, and he took refuge in Krishna. And Krishna literally moved heaven and earth to keep him safe. We have so many stories. Once when an arrow was going to go through Krishna's, Arjun's head, he made the whole earth sink. So the chariot went down and the arrow went over his head, and just so many stories like that. When you take refuge in the divine, it's not an exaggeration to say the divine moves heaven and earth to keep you safe.
Can I share something? I was supposed to come
One sec.
I was supposed to come back from Pune on Saturday, and there was this voice inside telling me stay one night. And I have a friend, over there, and I said, look, I'll book a hotel and I'll stay and I'll come and see you. And I couldn't go to see her because there was something wrong in the hospital, but I stayed the night. And that is the time where there was that massive 21 cars had an accident on the highway. I wouldn't have got involved. It was before I started out, but I would have been caught like till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whatever. Just a voice.
That is Khagaya, no? So, in the morning we discuss Khagaya in the light of, yes, it's the inner guide, but it's the guidance of an intelligence. See, Khaga, the sun in the sky, is guiding all the birds, looking to it for direction. But the sun in our heart guides our thoughts and emotions to go in the right direction. So, when we stay with Khagaya Nama, it gives us great solace that we are not dependent on the blind light of our thoughts to find our way. Thankfully, a mind much bigger than our thoughts guides our thoughts to go into the right direction. This is a beautiful example of that. There is something inside us constantly guiding us through our own thoughts, and in fact even guiding our thoughts to go where they need to go. Effort and grace, Mother's words. I have said somewhere, or maybe written, that no matter how great your faith and trust in the divine grace, no matter how great your capacity to see it at work in all circumstances, at every moment, at every point in life. So if I've transited from the law of darkness to the law of light, I'm seeing grace manifest. That's what we read earlier, that in order to see how grace is working and in order to allow grace to manifest, we have to transition from living in the law of darkness and move to the law of light. But even if you have, no matter how great your capacity to see it at work in all circumstances, at every moment, at every point in life, you will never succeed in understanding the marvelous immensity of its action. and the precision and exactitude with which this action is accomplished. You will never be able to grasp to what extent the grace does everything, is behind everything, organizes everything, conducts everything, so that the march forward to the divine realization may be as swift, as complete, as total and harmonious as possible, considering the circumstances of the world. So it's a wonderful thing Mother has written, that no matter how advanced we are, how intelligent we are, how spiritually open we are, we'll never have the capacity to understand how grace works. In that little book, The Mother, that Sri Aurobindo has written, he's written a wonderful thing along similar lines. He said that no matter how intelligent you are, the most intelligent of intelligence minds cannot follow the Mother's action. It's too swift for us to follow. It's too vast, it's too infinite. As soon as you are in contact with it, in contact with this grace, there is not a second in time, not a point in space, which does not show you dazzlingly this perpetual work of the grace, this constant intervention of grace. So beautiful. If we have the chakshuscha chakshu, the eye within the eye, there won't be a moment, not a point in space, when I won't see how dazzlingly the grace is working and how there's a constant intervention of grace. Again, those beautiful lines from Savitri. But there are hands that save. There are guardian powers, there are hands that save. Calm eyes divine regard the human race. So there's constantly an intervention of grace every moment. And once you have seen this, you feel you are never equal to it, for you should never forget it. Never have any fears, any anguish, any regrets, any recoils, or even suffering. Once you've opened your eyes to see how marvelously this grace works, you should never have any fears, any anguish, any regrets, any recoils, or even suffering. If one were in union with this grace, if one saw it everywhere, one would begin living a life of exaltation, of all power, of infinite happiness. Then I really become my own kalpavriksha, my wish-fulfilling tree. But then I don't have any wishes also, because I'm so surrendered to the divine will, because I know that the divine is doing everything for me. I just have to dance along and be happy. And it's unfolding abundance after abundance, joy after joy in my life. And that would be the best possible collaboration in the divine work. What would be the best possible collaboration in the divine work? Who can say it in their own words?
To align with the divine will.
To align with the divine will.
To flow with it.
And to flow with it, and to have an inner opening where I don't see this appearance of the world as a final thing. That behind the appearance I see, I concretely sense the grace making for good every circumstance in life. When I'm seeing that concretely, I can't have anguish or suffering or fear or anything else. And when I'm living in this fearless state of joy, that is the best collaboration I can give the divine. To be free of fear is the best collaboration I can give the divine. Aspiration, constant and sincere, and the will to turn to the divine alone are the best means to bring forward the psychic. Psychic is the inner sun, the portion of the mother inside us. So how do we bring forward this psychic which is covered up by thoughts? Aspiration, constant and sincere, the deep spiritual cry in all things, that is what we have to constantly be in touch with, stoke that fire inside us. So it's a big thing. If we have a normal life, if 5 minutes in a day we have a real aspiration, it's good. But we have to eventually grow into what Sri Aurobindo says, a constant and sincere aspiration. And the will to turn to the divine alone are the best means to bring forward the psychic. Mother saying this, She says, fix a time every day when you can be free and undisturbed. Sit comfortably and think of your psychic being with an aspiration to enter into contact with it. If you don't succeed immediately, don't be discouraged. You are sure to succeed one day. I only ask that you let me know what time you have chosen. This was when Mother was in the body. What a beautiful time. She would tell each sadhak, let me know when you're sitting and connecting with your psychic, and I will be with you. But in a way we are even more blessed, because now that Mother is not in her body, she's everywhere. If we just tell her, Mother, I'm going to sit every day at so and so time, why will she not be with us? She's bound to be with us. She said this, fix a time every day when you can be free and undisturbed. Sit comfortably and think of your psychic being with an aspiration to enter into contact with it. If you don't succeed immediately, don't be discouraged. You are sure to succeed one day. I only ask, Mother says, that you let me know what time you have chosen so that I can help you more consciously with all my love and blessings. What beautiful words, no? And she said that I only want half an hour of your, somewhere I'd read, she said, give me half an hour. Sit with me consciously for half an hour and I'll carry you through the rest of the day. Half an hour everywhere, give me. Spend time with me, connect with me. Rest of the day you don't bother, I'll carry you through it. Okay, so we come to the 11th Surya Mantra, Om Arkaya Nama. Ark means essence. So the one essence which is in all things. So we said the title of our talk was this deep spiritual cry in all that is. So this spiritual cry is the cry to be reunited, to be rescued from this divided existence. Rumi's written a gorgeous poem on this. I don't remember it, but from memory. He says that ask the reed is a blade of grass, why it's crying so much. Its cry has deafened the worlds. Why? Because it was separated from its bed. So each of us is that reed which has been separated from our source of oneness. And he's written something to the effect that the wail of the reed can make everyone cry if you can hear it. But we are too deaf, we don't hear it. But this is the deep spiritual cry in all that is, to be reunited. So Ark is that essence. So you found it? Okay. It's this. Listen to the story of the reed as it laments the pain of separation. Since they have cut me off from my reed bed, my wail brings tears to both woman and man. Those ripped away from their beloved know my song, having been cut from the source. So beautiful, no? So Arkaya Nama is that one essence which makes us one with everything again. It reminds us that everything is that one essence. So we can't be attached to anything, we can't be repelled to anything. When we have the Chakshuscha Chakshu, the eye within the eye to see it, Sri Aurobindo writes beautifully, God had opened my eye. I knew that God had opened my eyes when I could see the beauty in the hideous and nobility in the vulgar. Appearance can be anything, but if it's that same arc in everything, and I have the chakshusha chakshu within to see it, then I see the beauty in the hideous and nobility in the vulgar. So, lines from Savitri, page 322. A bliss, a light, a power, a flame white love, caught all into a soul immense embrace. Existence found its truth on oneness's breast. So the reed bed is the oneness's bed to which the reed wants to be replanted into. Existence found its truth on oneness's breast, and each became the self and space of all. The great world rhythms were heartbeats of one soul. So beautiful. There are so many rhythms in the world, but it's like there's one soul and all the different rhythms were heartbeats of that one soul. We feel one body can have only one heartbeat, but can we imagine a universal body who claims all the heartbeats, the million zillion heartbeats as its heartbeats? All the great world rhythms were heartbeats of one soul. To feel was a flame discovery of God. All mind was a single harp of many strings. So a harp is made up of many strings. So each string represents one mind, but all minds collectively form, all the different minds collectively form that one universal mind, the arc. All mind was a single harp of many strings, all life a song of many meeting lives. For worlds were many, but the self was one. I'll just read this passage again without explanation, just feel it, it's very beautiful. A bliss, a light, a power, a flame white love, caught all into a soul immense embrace. Existence found its truth on oneness's breast, and each became the self and space of all. The great world rhythms were heartbeats of one soul. To feel was a flame discovery of God. All mind was a single harp of many strings. All life a song of many meeting lives. For worlds were many, but the self was one. So let's stay with this mantra, the 11th Surya mantra, Om Arkaya Nama. So again, if you like, put your hands at the center of your chest and the seat of the inner sun, the psychic being, an inch or so behind where your palms touch. Of course, it's not really in a geographical dimension, but for the sake of our understanding, this is the pointer. So, arc, that one God essence found in everything, that one essence that rescues me from separateness and reinstates me in oneness. So with Om Arkaya Nama, the aspiration is to go home to the source, the primal oneness from which my mind separates me. So just Om Arkaya Nama soundlessly a few times. And then 3 times aloud. Arkaya Namah. And then the 12th and the last Surya mantra, Om Bhaskaraya Nama. Bhaskar means light. So Bhaskaraya is the giver of enlightenment. For example, if I'm very unhappy, and enlightenment isn't like nirvana, but every time I'm in a hole and I get a perspective of light from within that pulls me out of the hole, it's a moment of enlightenment, right? It's that perspective of light which changes everything. So the bringer of that. So now words from Savitri, page 600. All here is a mystery of contraries. Everything on earth is a mystery of contraries. Somewhere else in Savitri, Sri Aurobindo writes, our life is a paradox. Paradox is two opposites, with God for the key. Our life is a coming together of two opposites which we can't fathom, we can't solve. We don't know how to live with such a contradiction. But we resolve that contradiction when we find the truth of God in things. So our life is a paradox with God for key. Same thing is expressed here. All here is a mystery of contraries. Darkness, a magic of self-hidden light. So beautiful. This is a recurring refrain of Sri Aurobindo's writing. He says that darkness does not exist. Darkness is a limitation of our senses. Because our senses can't see the light hidden in darkness, we call it dark. But actually the Bhaskar, the giver of enlightenment, is already there in the darkness. The darkness is paving the way for some future glory. And that purpose in the darkness is the working of light in the darkness. Somewhere else Sri Aurobindo writes, ever in the heart of peril, danger, a flute goes before us. In the heart of that danger, that darkness, flute is Krishna's presence. The light is already there, spreading a safety net for us. So darkness does not exist. It's just a limitation of our senses. We don't see the light in the darkness, so we call it dark. So he says, darkness, a magic of self-hidden light. Suffering, some secret rapture's tragic mask. All our suffering is really a mask the original bliss wears. And death an instrument of perpetual life. Although death walks beside us on life's road, a dim bystander at the body's start, and a last judgment on man's futile works. Other is the riddle of its ambiguous face. Death is a stare, a door, a stumbling stride, the soul must take to cross from birth to birth. The ultimate darkness for many of us is death. But Sri Aurobindo is saying death is not darkness, it's actually a gateway to light. Death is a stair, a door, a stumbling stride. The soul must take to cross from birth to birth, a whip to lash us towards our deathless state. The inconscient world is the spirit's self-made room. Eternal night, the shadow of eternal day. So eternal night is ignorance. Ignorance, see, a shadow has no existence, right? It's just where light is blocked. So in that sense, it doesn't exist. It's just where light doesn't fall. So eternal night, a shadow of eternal day. Night is not our beginning nor our end. Night here, remember what did we say night represents in the Vedas?
Ignorance.
Huh? Ignorance. Night represents ignorance. Night is not our beginning nor our end. She is the dark mother. She is also a mother in whose womb we have hid, safe from too swift awaking to world pain. So ignorance is bliss, they say. Ignorance shelters us till we are ready for the light. Because if we prematurely open to light, we'll burn away. So even ignorance is a mother who's sheltering us in her womb. She is the dark mother in whose womb we have laid, safe from too swift awaking to world pain. We come to her from a supernal light. By light we live and to the light we go. This should be a mantra to learn up. So simple. By light we live and to the light we go. Darkness really has no room except what our mind imagines. So let's conclude with the 12th Surya mantra, Bhaskaraya. So, the giver of enlightenment, the light hidden in darkness, waiting for its moment to show itself so that darkness is dispelled. So if I'm held in the grip of a particular form of unhappiness about this or that, Om Bhaskaraya Namah soundlessly, asking the giver of light to show me that perspective of truth and light that delivers me from this unhappiness, the truth that sets me free, as the Bible says. So Om Bhaskaraya Namah in your heart. And then 3 times aloud. Bhaskaraya Namah. Bhaskaraya Namah. Bhaskaraya Namah. And now let's offer to this place all the 12 Suryan mantras. We've covered them in the past 2 Savitri classes. Those of you who've just come, you could catch the recording. So I'll say the middle word and then we'll do the whole mantra. Mitraya. Om Mitraya Namah. Ravaye. Om Ravaye Namah. Suryaya. Om Suryaya Namah. Bhanave. Om Bhanave Namah. Khagaya. Om Khagaya Namah. Pushane. Om Pushane Namah. Hiranyagarbhaya. Om Hiranyagarbhaya मरीचये ॐ मरीचये नमः आदित्याय ॐ आदित्याय नमः सवित्रे ॐ सवित्रे नमः अर्काय ॐ अर्काय नमः भास्कराय ॐ भास्कराय नमः 3 ohms. We'll mostly have class next week, but just check on our WhatsApp chat. I'll put it up by Wednesday or Thursday.